So hi everyone and welcome to our new video, and in today's video we are going to add animations to our character. So you might have noticed that our character is still in the A pose, and what would be great is to add some animation so that each animation does represent a specific action. So maybe if our character is standing, or maybe if our character is moving, or maybe if he's sprinting, we basically want to add some animations right here. So we can get a ton of free assets from the Unreal Marketplace. Now it's called Fab, and I'm just going to open Fab. And there is one pack that I really like. I think most of the creators do use the game animation sample. So I have managed to create like to collect a ton of free assets. So I have game animation sample right here. I'll use 5.4 and then I'll go to browse and just keep it under my projects and select the folder, then create. So I'll give it a moment to download and I'll be back. Another weekend of waiting, we have downloaded the game animation sample. These are quite advanced animation system. You can just have a look at what it looks like, and yeah, so this is a more advanced animation system for movement. So we're only interested in a few animations here, and I'll go straight to the character. I think we have an animation somewhere. Is that echo? No. VFN mannequin, animations. We have idol. So which animations are? So this project has a lot of animations, and I don't like when we have a lot of animations. So it's difficult for us to choose. Standing idle loop. Yeah, I got it. There you are. So I'm only interested in the idle. I'm interested in the walk and the run. So I'll right click on my animation assets, go to assets action and migrate. So it will carry a lot of dependencies with it, including the modifiers, which we'll later remove because we won't need them. So these curves and modifiers, we won't need them. So just click OK and export it. So we're going to look for our project. So it's under 6 minutes and we are going to add them to the content folder. So when you click select folder, it will migrate, essentially copying the idle loop to our project. So I'm going to take walk and I'm going to take walk forward. Yeah, so this is our walk animation. I'll also export it. Not export, migrate it. It will carry the dependencies, copy it to our content folder of our project, and once we have these, we'll say that there's some files that are already existing. We can apply to all and say no because we don't want to overwrite them. We already have the files over there. So we'll only pick the files that we don't have. That's our animation and like the footsteps. So click no, that's finished. Then I'll go to the third animation, that's run, and we're going to look for run forward. So where do we get our run forward? Let me look for loop. Yeah, here it is. So search for it, right click, assets action, migrate, check OK, make sure it's our content folder, and apply to all, down to the right, and that's it. So we are done for now with this project. So let's go back to our other project and see if we are happy with them animations. So I'll close that and come back to our main project. Yeah, so we are back at our main project. So what we need to do is go straight to our characters folder. This is the new folder. I'll open it, and under animations we'll have our idle, we'll have our run and walk. So that's really great, and we can choose to use these animations, but we want to have these animations in our skeleton. So what happens is that we are going to retarget these animations to our skeleton, to our MetaHuman skeleton. So this other skeleton comes with under meshes. This is essentially the skeleton that comes with the animation game sample. We are not using this skeleton, so the bone hierarchy may be different or may be the same, and our character has this skeleton mesh. You can see they are quite different, so it's difficult for us to know. Which bones, like if the bones are the same. So the safe bet to do is to get our animations and retarget them. So retargeting is essentially copying animation data from one skeleton to another, and Unreal has these auto retargeter features that's so super cool. I mean, everything right now works so magical in Unreal. So I'll just select this skeleton. Remember, this was our base skeleton of our character. Let's go back and see. There, this is our base skeleton. Yeah, so let's get back to our retargeting window, and I'll select all the three animations. And so there's a ton of warnings, but we can ignore them for now. It's not necessarily important right now. So I'll export animations and I'll place them under the art folder or under the MetaHumans folder, and I'll add another folder and I'll name it animations. Then I'll click on export. If there is files, we basically can overwrite that and export. Yeah, and here we have our three animations. Now it's difficult for us to see the animations because we have a character that's a modular character. By that I mean that it's a character that's made up of several parts. So what I'll try and do, I'll try and show the bones character, show all hierarchy. Yeah, we can see that's our character running. Cool. Now it's time to add these animations to our character. So to do that, what we need to set up is something called an animation blueprint, or maybe a system to tell our character this is the particular animation that you need to use at this specific moment. And it's also important to make sure that you set up the bonds in such a way, your skeleton meshes in such a way that the body is always like the parent that it's driving. So they're basically using the same animation blueprint. So to create an animation blueprint, just go straight to your details of your character, select the character on your screen, go to details, and just create new blueprint. The ideal way would be going to like your blueprint folders. I'll add another one. So you notice that there are some new folders that were added when I did import the game animation samples. So what I'll do, I'll create another folder and I'll call it animations. Since it's under the blueprint, we are creating an animation blueprint, I've decided to add this folder. So it's easy for me to come here and add a blueprint class, but we can just go down and under animations and create an animation blueprint. So we are going to select our base skeleton, and what that means is we are going to select our MetaHuman base skeleton and create. So I'll call it AnimBP base. So this is like a base animation blueprint for all the skeletons that I will be using the MetaHuman skeleton. And once we open it, we can add our neutral stand animation and just plug it in here. And once we compile and go back to our character and under anim class, so let's open the main blueprint and I'll open the base, I think. Yeah, I'll open the base and under animation blueprint, I'll add AnimBP base, compile that. So when we come back to our player character, we can see there is some idle animations right there. So let's just go back to the scene and see how it looks like. So I'll do a quick save everything, and when I hit play, you can see our character is always in the idle pose, and that's great. Look at that. Yeah, but now we want our character, once we start moving, they move their feet. Basically, I want them to play our animations, our moving animation or walking animations. So to do that, we can't only plug this. So we need to do some, I'd say, calculations just to get our speed. Also, here there is a ton of ways that you can do this, but I'll use the legacy way because I like it and it's quite explainable. It's quite easy. So I'll go ahead and open my stand idle loop, and then under it I'm going to create what's called a blend space. I know this is old school, but I just like it. So you'll go straight to animation, and go to legacy and do like blend space 1D. So under the skeleton, select the base MetaHuman skeleton and call it blend space movement. Yeah. So basically, what this allows us to do is to select a blending between animations depending on like a certain variable. So in our case, we are going to use like speed to select different animation assets. So depending on how faster we are moving, that's why I have an axis right here. It's not named yet. Depending on how fast we are moving, we are going to set values, float values to our blend space that will later be communicated to from the character. So just to demo that, I'll name the axis and name it the movement speed, and the minimum value I think we can agree it's 0. The maximum we can set it to 600. So the way I've reached to 600, you can see from our player character, when you look at the movement component, we can see the maximum walk speed is 600. That's why I'm setting up mine to be 600 too. So I'll reduce the number of divisions to 1 or say 2. And then now it's time that you see the blend space working its magic. I'll drag the idle to the far end and I'll check snap to grid. I'll also drag the walk middle, and then you notice that our character right now is trying to move, is like struggling, and that's because our cursor is close to in between the idle and the walk. So when I move it, when you click on control and move your mouse, you can see your character's increasing his speed linearly, and we are going to add run at the far end. So notice how his speed changes from walking to running, and that's very smooth, so we don't have to be doing a lot of calculations in between. So you're basically trying to estimate a certain part of the frame and play it, blending the two frames together. So that's running and walking. And one last thing is that there is an advanced way of doing this. I mean, it sucks because it just gives you the results, but I like when you just understand everything from scratch. That's us. We are beginners. We are not experts. So this is a basic way of doing it. There is more advanced way. I know there is a ton of easier way to do this, but it's important that you learn how we got to where we are right now. So this is basic, and I think this will work. And I'll go back to my animation blueprint and grab my BS movement from the asset browser and plug it in. So you notice our character is still standing, but when I set the value to around 600 and compile, our character will always be running. So when I go back to the editor, save everything, click play, you can see our character is always running, which is okay. I mean, you can see we can run, but that's not our goal today. So our goal is to play different animations based on the character speed. So we'll go back to our blueprints, and this is where, guys, we do some, I'd say, basic maths. So to do this, we are going to look for a specific function. Again, I won't go legacy for too much. We are going to look for a specific function. Let me say, let's just use property access for now, or let's just have a network. So I'll look for the blueprint thread safe update animation, and I'll get a property access, and then I'll try get pawn owner, and from the pawn owner I want to get the velocity. So basically I'm getting the owner of this animation blueprint, and I'm getting the velocity that the character is moving with. So after getting the velocity, we can get the length of the velocity. So this allows us to get the speed. So to calculate the speed, so basically we can just write get vector length, or let me just say vector length. Vector length. So this returns the length of the vector. So basically, if we have a velocity and we are doing like we want to do it like to convert it to a float value, we just call the vector length and it converts it to a float value. So I'll promote this to a variable and name it speed, and plug that in and compile. Again, we don't have to do this in this way. There is a ton of like multiple different ways for you to do it, but again, I've said we are beginners, so we don't need to do advanced stuff. So under the movement speed, there is an easier way. Just drag this, get speed, and link it up, and you'll notice immediately we hit compile, our character will stop the running, and that's great. So our animation blueprint is set, and when we hit play, you can see our character is now at standstill. I don't like the arms though. And when we try to move, you can see it's like running, and when I stop, the stop animation kicks in. When I run, you can basically see, yeah, and that's it. I mean, I'm happy that we have a character that's running on the screen and is basically receiving inputs. So that's it for this video. Glad that you followed through until the end, so please consider subscribing if you find this video useful. If you don't, also subscribe just because we don't need a reason. Yeah, and that's, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.